Sometimes the travel brochure doesn't tell you the full picture, and while sometimes that can result in a bit of holiday disappointment, other times it might result in death. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be taking a look at 3 dangerous locations. Eagle's Nest Sinkhole. Take a 2-hour drive west of Orlando, Florida, beyond the mouse hats and dolphin shows, and you'll find yourself at a large clearing in a pine-filled forest. Standing at the foot of a large pond, it doesn't seem like anything particularly special, just unimpressive and scummy looking. But appearances can be deceiving. The pond itself sits over a vast underwater cave, the Eagle's Nest Sinkhole, well known for the outstanding beauty hidden below its surface. Famous amongst divers, many come to dive in its vast network of underwater caves that are considered to be some of the most beautiful in the world. The journey begins down a narrow vertical tunnel, quickly opening up into a submerged space the size of an aircraft hangar. The walls are smoothed out and shaped by hundreds of years of erosion, with side caves peeling off from the sides and painted in the slate greys, cream whites and pale blues of changing rock layers. It is an eye-opening display of natural beauty. The mouth of the cave, however, shows something far less appealing. A white sign driven into the rock bed, rusty nails holding it together, and the Grim Reaper standing over the bodies of divers who have been met with a terrible fate. The sign's message is far from ambiguous. "Stop," it says. "Prevent your death. Go no farther. There's nothing in this cave worth dying for. Do not go beyond this point." This reveals the Eagle's Nest's deadly past, and is both a stark reminder and a warning to divers attempting to challenge one of the world's most treacherous underwater caves. This place has claimed the lives of many who attempt to explore its magnificent caverns, and yet history and Grim Reaper sign withstanding, divers continue to do so at their peril. This is not a case of just amateur divers being beyond their ability. The Eagle's Nest takes experienced divers also, and one Sunday in October 2016, 2 seasoned divers befell the cave's macabre past. Patrick Peacock and Chris Rittenmeyer were there with a third friend, Justin Blakely, who was not as experienced as the others. That being the case, he stayed close to the cave's entrance, but did not journey further in. This decision would save his life. When Patrick and Chris failed to return to the pre-agreed meeting point, Justin called the emergency services. Rescue divers began their search, but it was soon clear that rather than a rescue mission, this would be a recovery. Patrick and Chris's bodies would not be found until the next day. Their bodies were not far from each other, trapped at a depth of 260 feet. It is unclear what exactly happened. Maybe it was just malfunctioning equipment, impaired visibility, or what some divers refer to as the rapture of the deep, succumbing to a deadly amount of nitrogen entering the bloodstream that rapidly disorients. Perhaps the most tragic incident occurred 3 years prior, when the fateful depths of Eagle's Nest struck the heart of a family one Christmas. Scuba enthusiast Darren Spivey and his son, 15-year-old Dylan, were looking to test their Christmas presents, brand new air tanks, and saw the Eagle's Nest as the ideal location. This would be their last Christmas. Dylan was found lifeless at 67 feet, whilst his father was recovered on the cave floor at 127 feet. It was thought that Dylan ran through his air tank too quickly, and whilst his father was able to share the remainder of his main supply, could not reach the spare tank in time. These are just 2 stories amongst many of the lives lost at this dangerous place, and yet the Eagle's Nest still remains open today. Go back to the sign at the entrance of the cave and look closer at the Grim Reaper. He's not stopping you from entering at all, but with a raised finger beckoning you in. Do you dare to take him on? Bolton Strid, one of the world's most dangerous waterways. Set within an area of outstanding beauty in the Yorkshire Dales of northern England lies a picturesque stretch of river, its likeliness reminiscent of a quintessential British landscape, and yet its beauty belies a gruesome past. There's a small, unassuming portion of waterway known as the Bolton Strid, and is barely 6 feet across. It looks like all it takes to get from one bank to the other is a simple leap. A simple leap is also all it takes to lose your life. The Bolton Strid has lured many to their deaths and is known as the most perilous stretch of water in the world. It is rumoured that there is a 100% fatality rate for anyone who touches its waters, unfortunate enough to fall in. The narrowness of the Strid is deceptive, as the waters are both powerful from the larger flow of the River Wharfe upstream and deep with a series of underwater tunnels. Both these factors result in vortices impossible to escape from, as the fast-running waters firstly drag any trespassers over the jagged rocks that line the river's banks before trapping them in the darkness below. Legends abound with the Strid, the most infamous being the spectral white horse that is said to rise from the angry waters when a body is taken to its watery grave. This horse was said to have been ridden by the Queen of the Fairies, who took this forest area to be the reserve of her domain. 3 young sisters from a nearby parish went to find the truth of this folklore. Whether they found it, we shall never know, as they disappeared, never to be seen again. Some have said this white horse holds a special place for those who traverse the embankment at their happiest times. An early story tells of a young couple with a forbidden love, finally escaping their families to be together at last. The young woman, having to cross the River Wharfe to meet her love, thought the small stretch of the Strid would evade any risk of recapture. She made the leap across the Strid, but fell short, dragged under by the river's terrifying undercurrent. Her lover, waiting on the other side, jumped into the waters to save her, but only in vain. Whilst ultimately they would end up together forever, this would only be in death. Turn the pages of time to 1998, and the Strid took yet another couple in love. It was but the second day of Barry and Lynn Collett's honeymoon when a forest hike turned to tragedy. This time the Strid swelled its banks, reaching out to take its lives this time. Lynn's body was recovered 1 week afterwards, whilst Barry was not found until over a month later, 10 miles downstream. The most recent victim of the Bolton Strid might well be the most tragic. In the summer of 2010, and on one of the hottest days of the year, Aaron Page, an 8-year-old schoolchild, was celebrating his birthday when the Strid claimed yet another soul. Ambling across the stones that lined the Strid, Aaron suddenly slipped, falling into the raging waters. According to reports, a passerby managed to get hold of the boy, but this could only serve to delay the inevitable, and tragically, the strong current pulled Aaron from his grasp, swallowing him into the black waters below. Bubbly Creek. Bubbly Creek's name almost sounds charming and cutesy, describing something akin to the Old Faithful geyser perhaps, or maybe hot restorative waters of Juniper Springs, Florida. Unfortunately, it is anything but, with a poisoned and toxic past. Once a thriving wetland, the South Fork of the Chicago River was altered in the 19th century to cope with the exponential population growth of the time, and man-made creeks expanded this branch of the river. At the end of one of these man-made creeks lay the Union Stock Yards, home to the meatpacking district who couldn't believe their luck. This waterway was ideal to dump their putrid waste in, and once the clean Chicago River was soon filled with the rotting entrails, foul-smelling blood, and chemical waste of the industry, it didn't take long for the creek to not only become contaminated, but soon began to bubble from the noxious substances cast into it. Pools of methane and hydrogen sulfide frothed in the waters, and soon a layer of black sludge covered this once pristine stretch of water. This tar-like substance floated downstream to other settlements, polluting the waters further still, and spreading its toxic stench, only made worse by the fact it could catch fire, sending its stink into the air far and wide. Not only that, but it was so thick in parts that a person could even walk on it, with tales of people wandering onto those putrid platforms by mistake, only to fall into what can only be imagined as a horrific end. And so the toxic streams that made up the South Fork of the Chicago River came to be known as Bubbly Creek, not for any pleasant tourist-attracting reason, but because of the toxic gases that would foam and froth those poisoned waters. Today, Chicago officials are trying to persuade visitors to make use of Bubbly Creek, urging the return of recreational activities to these waters once again. Needless to say, we wouldn't encourage anyone to swim there anytime soon. But what do you make of these dangerous locations? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.